Hello and welcome to Wednesday webinar. I'm Julia Hartman from the Bantax National Accountants Group, and tonight I'm coming to you from our Mackay office in Northern Queensland. Tonight I'd like to talk about your main residence exemption again. Last week I told you of a few cases where you just can't take it for granted that you will be entitled to the main residence exemption, and tonight I'll talk about how to make sure you do establish your main residence in a house. Or unit for that matter. So the first important thing is to move in as soon as possible. So that means as soon as possible after the settlement, if it's established premises, or as soon as possible after the construction is completed, if you're having a place built. Now, this doesn't mean just waiting until the end of the school year or anything else. This is really the tax, as you heard last week, the tax office is pretty tight on this. So unless you're hospitalised, get in there the weekend after settlement. Now, one of the things that could get in the way of this is if you bought a house with a sitting tenant, you can't move in until they move out, and you can't establish your main residence exemption on that property until you move in. So the idea is if there's a tenant in the house when you buy it, you demand vacant possession and delay settlement until the tenant's lease is up. Don't have settlement while there's a tenant in there. If you don't cover it with your main residence exemption right from day one, you have to keep records the whole time you own the property, because you will be subject to capital gains tax on that property. I know it might only be a little bit, that's not the point. You have to keep records and you have to calculate it all the time you own the property, and then pay tax on a very small portion. It's the record keeping and the calculation. Now, another example of how a normal social behaviour could get you into strife with your main residence exemption is, say, a young couple buy a house together, but they don't want to move into it until they get married. So they leave it sitting there, do it up a bit, but they're still living elsewhere and waiting until after the honeymoon before they move in. That's it, they've blown it. They do not get their main residence exemption from the period that they didn't live there at the start, and that means they have to keep records the whole time they live there, even if it's 30 or 40 years, and work out what portion of the capital gain over that period of time applies to that period they couldn't cover it, and pay tax on that. It's not the tax, it's the record keeping that's the problem. Now, if you do get caught in this situation, Section 110-25 subsection 4 of the 1997 Income Tax Assessment Act will help you. It allows you to increase the cost base of it by anything associated with the house that you haven't otherwise claimed as a tax deduction. And obviously when you're living there, you're not claiming anything as a tax deduction. So this would mean even cleaning materials, because that's maintenance of the house, lawnmower fuel, obviously interest rates, insurance, all those sorts of things, any repairs you do to the property. You should keep records for all those things if you're exposed. So you can see the idea is don't be exposed. Thank you. All right, I hope to see you next week. Thanks for staying till the end.